Hi, this is Graham from LSAT Hacks, and this video is about how to go faster on LSAT logical reasoning. And you should also check out a video I've made just on my general approach to LSAT logical reasoning because the bulk of speed issues are simply affected by how well you know and do logical reasoning questions. So that's the most important thing by far, but this video covers some specific speed tips. And the first is the best way to go faster is to actually train for speed. It should be obvious, but if you're not doing timed practice, then there's no reason to expect you're going to get better at doing questions in time limits. I speak to a lot of students who won't start doing time tests until 2 weeks before test date. And this is a mistake. You may see some advice online to do on-time practice, and on-time practice definitely has its place, but you have to also start timing yourself or you're never going to get used to timing. And make sure to always use a bubble sheet like this when you're timing yourself. Use an analog watch. Do all of the regular things that you'll be doing on test day so that you get used to it. The second speed tip is identify question types that slow you down. A lot of people mostly focus on accuracy, and this is especially an issue if you've been doing on-time practice. You'll think like, great, I'm getting all of the parallel reasoning questions right. But the LSAT's not just about getting stuff right, it's about getting it right fast. And so if you're getting all of a certain question type right, but it takes you on average 2.5 minutes to do those questions, then you've actually still got a lot left to learn about that question type, and you need to focus on it. The better you get at something, the faster you'll be able to do it right. So when you review, or when you're doing a section actually, if a question feels like it's taking a long time, mark it down for review. And if you get a lot of questions that are taking you a long time, whether or not you get them right, narrow your focus to those question types and research how to do them fast. This video is too short to tell you how to do all the different question types, but know that for an expert, there's no particular question type that takes longer to do than others for the most part. Even those really long parallel reasoning questions, I can do those in about a minute, the same as it takes me for any other question, because I've got a method that lets me get through the answers fast, even though they're long. On parallel reasoning, it's because I can skim for structure. But for any long question type, there's always some kind of a method that if you do this, you can get it right fast. So step one is identifying the question types that do slow you down in order to research how people do them fast. Because I guarantee you, if you ask those getting 170 plus, they do have methods to let them solve all the questions fast. The next tip is to monitor your energy. The LSAT's really stressful. You've got a lot of stakes, you're under time pressure, so it makes sense that you have some kind of a panic. But this doesn't, the fact that it makes sense that you feel stressed doesn't mean you can just forget about it and let yourself get stressed and say, oh, it's natural. Once you know it's a risk, you have to take steps to deal with this. Anyone who's a pro at any high stakes activity has ways of monitoring their mental state to deal with stress and not get freaked out. You need to develop these too. The most important step is simply monitoring yourself. If you're doing a test and suddenly you feel panic like that, oh my god, it's a long question, so I don't know, you know what I mean, like something just jolts you. You have to be aware that something's going on up here and that you risk going into stress mode. Because the LSAT is frightening, but on the other hand, it's just ink on paper. It's not a bear, it can't hurt you, and it's unreasonable to go into a state of fear during a timed section. You have to pay attention to what's going on, and when you feel that pang of fear, step back, take a few deep breaths, relax. I often hear people say, well, I don't have time to do that, but you do. Do you have time to freak out? No one has time to freak out. If you take short breaks, breathe deeply, relax, and get yourself back into a good mental state, you will go faster, far faster. So monitoring your energy and then taking a moment to get yourself into a good frame of mind is essential to going fast. I personally take lots of small breaks in a section, and that's why I go faster than other people, because I know how important it is to think straight. And the final speed tip is to skip hard questions. I don't mean skip them permanently, but on every section I usually skip 3 to 5 questions, and then I come back. And you might say, well, I don't have time to come back. But the reason I have time to come back is because I'm skipping these hard questions. See, when you're doing a question, what your mind tends to do is it gets stuck in the way that it's seeing things. Your mind likes to keep a ordered view of the world. This helps us deal with the chaos around us, but it's not helpful on the LSAT, because then if you take a wrong view of a question, it's almost impossible to get a right view of it. This is why sometimes when you review, you might look at a question and you're like, why did I choose D? It's obviously B. That's because at the time you did the question, you were in that rut, and then your time spent away from the question let you get out of it. So if you get in one of those ruts on a hard question, it doesn't matter if you spend 1 minute or 3 minutes, you're still never going to get it in 95% of the cases. Meanwhile, those 2 minutes you waste continuing to look at it are going to block you from doing other questions and eat up your time. Now, the alternative is, once you realize you're stuck on a question, skip it, mark down the most probable answer, move on. And if you do a habit of this, you're going to have extra time at the end of the section, so you can come back. And if you move on from a question and come back 15 minutes later, that's enough time that your mind can have a different view of things, and that you actually have a shot to get this right. So it's far more efficient to spend 1 minute, save 2 minutes, and then come back and spend a bit of that 2 minutes on the question when you actually have a chance of doing it. So skipping questions doesn't mean not doing them, but it does mean using your time most efficiently, being able to finish the section and getting a second chance at those questions.